Whoa, jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun. Yeah!
Dance it out, Ann Brothers. Dancy, dancy, and fancy. I'm concerned because your face is all blurry in my picture. I'm wondering if you're all blurry.
I don't know. My face looks blurry from my picture. My face looks... Go ahead.
Like one of us has a bad connection. Oh well, we're just gonna have to suck it up. It's gonna be okay. So what's new, Ann Brothers? Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. I was like, I was going to write it on a note somewhere, like, say Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's
Day. Michael Brothers, we're going to dinner later. Let's go get that steak. Let's go. That's right.
Were you with me, Jenny, when that comedian was talking about that Father's Day was the 20th most popular holiday in the calendar?
I was talking to you about that. Yes.
Yeah, that was so funny. And like Arbor Day is 13 and Christopher Columbus Day is number 11.
It's like, so yeah, it's like 11 or 12. It's like, oh, that's not great because like the most popular holiday is Christmas. And then like Mother's Day is number 2.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Arbor Day and Flag Day and Columbus Day.
All ahead of Father's Day.
All ahead of Father's Day. Sorry, Dad. We shut that up, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a fun thing. Fun stat about Mother's Day is that crime stats like drop like 30% on Mother's Day.
Wow.
The crime goes way down on Mother's Day normally, which I think is.
I wonder if it goes way up on Father's Day.
I don't know. All I know is like nobody's committing crime on the day for your mother. Don't do that.
Exactly. You got to take her to
things. Yeah. Yes. No crime on Mother's Day.
Breakfast or brunch or some sort of all-you-can-eat buffet thing. So isn't that what we did on Mother's Day? Didn't we go to an all-you-can-eat buffet? Well, it wasn't all. It was nice. It wasn't an all-you-can-eat.
Basically, all you can eat. It was.
It was.
And it was good.
It was good. Yeah. But it was.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll throw some love out to Alibi down in Portage. Alibi, good job. You did a nice job. It was delicious.
You did a nice job.
It was excellent. Yes. I also noticed that you guys did a very good job of cleaning. Like those are little things as I get older and I turn into my grandma Susie. I notice things like places that are clean or not clean, and it's a deal breaker for me. So it was nice because like when people would leave the table, they would like this little team would come over and they would, take care of the table, but then they would also wipe down the chairs and then they would move all the chairs and they would sweep under the table. So I was like, I like that because those are little things that you notice about restaurants that are better, is that they really take care of those little pieces of things. So not only is the food good and the service is good, but then they do the little things. That's when I knew Joe and I had gone out early in our relationship, and he had won a gift card to some really fancy steakhouse in Denver. I can't think of what. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's one of those places where A, you have to wear nice clothes, and B, they you have courses of food, and then between courses they come and crumb the table. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever been to a place that crumbs the table? Oh,
I was going to say, Duncan used to work at a place many, many moons ago in the early 90s, the Lord Fox, which is not around anymore, but used to be like the thing in Ann Arbor. And he had to buy a crummer, because that was one of the things.
And for those of you that don't know what that is, essentially it's a little tool that you use to run over the tablecloth. So if there's any crumbs on the table, it removes the crumbs from your tablecloth. It's fancy.
Yeah. Very fancy.
And I believe we had a sorbet course in there as well for palate cleansing. Yeah, that's when you're at a place that is going to require 3 figures or more to eat there.
Yeah, or more. Yeah. Woof.
Here's a fun fact, Anne. Joe and I discovered that there's a supper club, a super secret supper club in Kalamazoo that you have to be a member of.
Oh. How do you get to be a member?
You have to join with money.
Oh. Well, do we know somebody who has joined with money and can take us as a guest?
I do not know anybody that has joined with money to take a guest. So we'll have
Yeah,
to
we
figure
don't.
that out. So if you live in the Kalamazoo area and you're part
Hmm.
of the super secret supper club downtown and
Hmm.
you've joined with money, please
Hmm.
invite us along. Okay,
Exactly.
good. Good
Exactly. I was
talk.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody with money. Anybody I know with money doesn't live in Michigan.
Touche.
Touche.
Or at least the kind of money that you can go to a club and private club. The only
Yeah.
person that we knew that was Aunt Sarah. Aunt
Yeah.
Sarah's the only person I knew that had enough money to be part of like a private club.
Yeah.
Because remember that one time when we went out to visit in the summer and then we ended up going to the private club
Private club.
for
Yeah.
dinner
I
where we
do
had to wear nice
remember.
clothes and had
Hmm.
to be nice and say nice things and be on our best behavior. And there was an a cappella group that sang that
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Acapella groups were really big then. So
in the
yeah,
late
I was
80s.
like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we be good? I mean, like, we were teenagers, we had good company manners. We knew how to
We did.
conduct ourselves.
We were taught, Cynthia and Michael taught us well about how to act in mixed company.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
those have all, of course, fallen away in the years since, but which is
Yeah,
not true. I still know how to act in mixed company. So
I do too, but
yes,
I'm surprised at other people that cannot. So,
boy, that's the truth.
oh
Yes, we were
yes,
talking about that earlier when
yeah.
we were talking about fireworks and how
Mm.
people act like jackasses when they go see fireworks. You know,
You know, a couple of weeks ago, Duncan and I were at a Costco, and it was crowded. It was a weekend, and it was crowded, but most people were conducting themselves. And anyway, this one guy was pushing his cart, and this other guy was going too fast, and he almost ran into the guy with the cart. And then he starts yelling at the guy with the cart, and I'm like, dude, relax. And he's like, don't tell me what to do. And I'm like, you're gonna have a heart attack, and nobody's gonna care. And then he stopped off. It was great. I was like, wow, look at me. I'm like not putting up with this old dude's this shit. So
dude's tantrum. I'm like, good on you, Ann Brothers. Well done.
yeah,
Because
I was like,
yeah,
dude, I'm like, we're all here in too small of a place with too big, or with too much shit. We gotta like chill. If you
chill,
came
bro.
here because you're in a hurry, boy, that is on you for making a big mistake. This is
Was it
not
on
our
the weekend?
place. Yeah.
Oh yeah, duh. No, no. You
Yeah.
have to go in with the right attitude. If you're going to go shopping at Costco on a Sunday or a
Okay.
Saturday,
It
forget
was.
it. You got to
Yeah.
be like, you know what? I'm going to chill. I'm going to take my time. Yeah, I'm going to eat that sample if there's any, because there's usually none, because there's usually hordes of people waiting for the samples. But
Right.
yeah, you got to know you're in for a rough day. So just be
Yeah.
cool, man.
Just be
Like,
cool.
if you're in a
Yeah.
hurry, then go shop at Costco at 1:30 on a Tuesday, because then there'll be all the room and time you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah. So
Princess.
yeah, he was anyway. So,
Princess. Hi, sweet
you know,
girl. Got
chill.
Marla the cat with me, who is headbutting my leg, waiting patiently for her pets.
Mm.
It's really interesting because when it comes to like media, like if I'm on the phone or talking to somebody like, Marla's right there. Marla's all about phone talk. So this is the closest thing we have to that. So she's right there. Betty, on the other hand, is nothing but disdain for that. So
I have
yeah.
Bobo on my cat Bovine. Whenever I'm like texting, he starts headbutting the phone, like, "Hey, why do that when you can pet me?" So I'm like, "Dude,
That sounds right. That sounds right.
yeah,
So yeah, here we are on a Sunday, Father's Day. Again, happy Father's Day, Michael Vincent Brothers. We know
hmm
you out there. Uh and we're gonna just kind of we've been talking about this. It's so let's step back in time 2 years, shall we? Ann and I and my mom and dad are in Colorado for the memorial of one of my uncles, one of my mom's brothers, and we have something really tragic that happened. Her other brother passed away the day of the memorial, so it was just a really rough stretch of days. And so, you know, um, our mom is not necessarily in the best of health. She's at altitude. She's on her oxygen. Her brother, she's there to, mourn one brother when the other brother passes. So it was a shitty, shitty week.
it was a
And,
shitty week."
because anyway, during that time, the OceanGate Titan submersible incident happened. So it becomes our distraction.
Mhm.
So if you don't remember that, it was 2 summers ago. The sub disappears on radar. They lose contact with it, and literally the next 6 days are spent speculating, where's the sub? Can they find it? They're literally having countdowns of how much oxygen they have left on the sub. And of course, And so we're driving across America with my parents, trying to keep everybody happy, safe,
Alive.
alive as much as you could possibly. And the whole time we're like, I'm driving, Anne's on her phone, what do you know? What's the update? What's the update? What's the update? And so that it became this weird and terrible distraction.
Uh-huh.
And so this year, the Coast Guard has finished their investigation of the incident, and both the Discovery Channel and Netflix have released documentaries about the incident. Because as we know now, the sub imploded, all 5 people that were on board imploded with it. And it really, so now what we're finding out is we're finding out a lot now about the why. And so this is kind of in the news again because people are watching these documentaries and they're learning just what a fucked up mess all of this is. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the 2 documentaries, and we'll take you through a quick timeline. If you don't have time to watch the documentaries, we'll take you through a quick timeline of why this implosion was inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, shall we get to it, Am Brothers?
Yeah, I remember feeling guilty of like, I shouldn't be listening, it's like, and then I was like, at one point we were finally back in the Denver area and I'm like, Jenny, let's turn on the radio and see if we hear any news about this. And she's like, yeah. And after that, we were like, no more apologies. It was such a terrible week.
Yeah, that was
we
a tough week.
died in an implosion, but damn, was it a hard week?
Yeah, it was just, one of those, just a shit time for lots of people. So
it was.
Yeah.
So anyway.
All right. So here we go. We are talking about the Titan submersible disaster today. We are looking at the 2 documentaries that literally came out within a week of each other. Mm-hmm. So you had the Discovery Channel one, and then a week later you had the release of the Netflix one, and we'll kind of do a little compare and contrast and why you might want to watch one or both. So, all right. Anne, you want to start us off with our introduction?
Yes, I would like to welcome everybody or welcome you back. We are the Brothers Sisters. We are sisters. Our last name is Brothers. It's just too perfect, isn't it? So there you go. We're in our 50s, which means we're Gen X, which also means we know how to use a drinking fountain, Like there are kids nowadays that I work with, they're like, have no idea. They just put their giant ass water cups into this, like state of the art, water distribution center. Yes, Jenny.
I'm going to call a 20-second timeout real quick. 20-second timeout. Can I just say for the record how much I fucking hate those giant metal cups? Can I just take a moment to say that? Because A, they're giant. B, all of them have them. And C, they cannot keep those fucking things upright. And nothing, I'm like, you'll be sitting there having some quiet time, trying to get some work done, having a test, whatever, having a quiz, and all of a sudden, one of your students knocks that thing over, and it's like a bomb goes off in your classroom because that's how fucking loud they are. Sorry. Triggered! Trigger warning! I hate them so much.
So anyway.
And honestly, I think they should be banned because, I'm sorry, your kid should just be thirsty. Just be thirsty. You're going to be fine. Learn to deal with it. Hydrate between classes.
Water fountains. Anyway, so Jenny and I know how to use a water fountain without putting our mouths all over it. How to wait patiently while 10 people in front of you use the water fountain because they all had recess too. Counting so everybody gets their 5 seconds, so a water buffalo or hogging the water fountain and don't stick your tongue on it and gross, So
yes. The thing is, it's amazing how orderly, and I don't know if this was a Catholic school thing, but the line was always very orderly. It's like, because you didn't want to mess it up, because if you messed it up, then nobody was getting water.
Right.
So I'm like, if we just, and I wish driving applied to that, because I'm like, if we would just do the zipper method, we would all get where we're going, and we would all get there in a timely fashion.
Exactly. So Sorry. Anyway.
I'm full of interrupting today, my bad.
Okay, so anyway, geez, water fountains. This one was like top of my head. I didn't even realize it would cause you so much trauma, Jenny.
Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're Gen X, you know how to use a water fountain. We're not a cool, hip, or sexy podcast, nor are we cool, hip, or sexy people. We know this because we plan our next meal while we are eating. So, you're eating our pizza. Hey, what are we going to eat next? Oh, I don't know. I'm so excited. Let's talk about it.
Correct.
Accurate. We are not a true crime, celebrity, or influencer podcast. Why are all those still a thing? Why is that the only podcasts you can seem to find, or sometimes they're political, but right now I cannot stand a political podcast. So
I know, and I feel guilty because I feel like we should be talking about a lot of what's happening in our country, but at the same time, I don't want to talk about what's happening in our country.
Only in very small doses. We're good to listen to when you want to learn things about stuff, or because there's still so much we want to talk about. I mean, honestly, people, we're really glad that you're here, but it's mostly so Jenny and I can just talk.
That's a true statement.
Yeah, this podcast is not GPG or even PG-13, as you may have noticed with Jenny having her traumas vocalized out loud. So, and we're also today going to talk about some real stupid fucking idiots. So, we will not be able to contain our F-bombs. You can join us on our website or Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music. Like us, follow us, smash that bell, and leave us a review. Give us your feedback with our questions and answers and our polls. And you can ask Alexa to play us, and she will do it.
And feel free to leave lots of comments. I mean, Cousin Joe is very good about leaving YouTube comments. So keep up the good work, Cousin Joe. Yes.
Good job.
Yes. Yeah, we love hearing from you guys. We would love to talk back. So, yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Hey, yeah. Yes, that's correct. Again, you guys, you can find us, and you can tell people to find us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And I don't know, there's this one Twitch or something, but that's the video game one. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't know, maybe I am. I don't know. I keep thinking we're supposed to be on TikTok too, but
it sounds like a lot of work.
I know. But that's how you get uber famous. And I don't know if I want to be uber famous.
I don't know. After the Paul Rubens discussion we had last week, I was like, I don't know. The people who really use social media to make a living. Man, you were on social media then all the freaking time.
All the time.
I don't know if I want to.
And then you have to put up with the commentary that people say about you, and it's not nice.
Exactly. I got that already in my head. I don't need you typing it or texting it or whatever you're doing. So
I know I don't need you validating my inner demons. Thanks.
Exactly. So never mind.
My inner demons live rent free in my head 24/7. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't need any trolls in there too. So of course, Jenny, we are middle-aged women, so nobody really has very much to say to us.
Not really. No. That's fine.
Anyway. All right. So let's talk about smart, dumb, and/or fun stuff that happened this week. Jenny, why don't you start?
Okay, well, we spent last night burning stuff. So,
we're literally.
So, we're cleaning out our basement. And Joe and I have been carrying around, I don't know, like a dozen boxes of papers for 20 years.
Oh, some of it was close to 30, Jenny.
Correct. So, last night, there's not a shredder in the world. We missed all of the Lake Michigan Credit Union shredding days, and our poor little shredder isn't great. And so Ann and Duncan were kind enough to loan us their fire pit, and we burnt a bunch of paper last night. My nose is still not right. We burnt so much paper. I'm pretty sure the carbon output that we contributed to global warming yesterday was significant. Sorry, birds. Sorry, Florida. You getting flooded for sure now. And so that's what we did last night. It was kind of fun. It was also a lot of work. I went to bed last night exhausted from all of the heat. I'm pretty sure I have a sunburn from being that close to the fire for that long.
Yeah, I think I'm missing some on my arms.
Yeah, pretty sure I burnt my leg with that little hot poker thing, but we got most of the job done. We ended up consolidating. Joe and I consolidated down to 5 boxes yesterday, and then we got the fire hot enough. So we started by just spending a couple hours just getting the fire super hot, and then you just take the box and you put it on the fire, and then it burns. But there's so much paper in there and paper, it doesn't burn as like wood does. It requires more heat technically than wood does to burn. So you have to keep turning the papers over so that you expose new sides so that they can burn. It was a process, and I was so tired when I went to bed last night.
Yeah, it was, and I was like, I didn't take a turn turning papers because I'm like, damn, this is
not your job. These are not your papers. You do not need to do this. No. There was no expectation.
There
But
was so many papers.
we did have cheesy pizza. We had Detroit style pizza from Jets, which was delicious. We celebrated our Aunt Julie's birthday, we're not going to talk about the other birthday that was yesterday. We are going to talk about our Aunt Julie's birthday, which was yesterday, which was amazing because uh that's Flag Day is also my Aunt Julie's birthday. So yay.
Right.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Aunt Julie.
Happy
And then,
birthday.
of course, speaking of that other person, yesterday they had the No Kings rally, which I have been affectionately referring to the Fuck the King rallies because if you've watched Game of Thrones, one of the best characters in there is a character by the name of the Hound, Sir Sandor Clegane, and he was basically the bodyguard of the king. And at one point, he just chucks it. He's in the middle of this battle. He's afraid of fire because he's been burned by his brother, and he just looks at one of the characters and is like, "Fuck the king," and off he goes. And I'm like, yeah, that, and that becomes sort of one of his catchphrases. So, anyway, so lots of rallies yesterday. Literally hundreds of thousands of people turning out for those. Well done. It's Pride Month, so yay. And my thoughts are very much with the people of Minnesota as they deal with something really awful that happened yesterday. Two of their state politicians, state representative, what is her? Hang on, let me find her name real quick. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated by some piece of shit. And State Senator John Hoffman and his wife are both in critical condition. Again, shot by the same piece of shit. So I'm not even going to mention his name because he sucks and he's a piece of shit. So there you go.
There you go.
What you got for me, Ann?
Well, I also wanted to say thank you to all the people who participated in yesterday's rallies. I was working yesterday, so I could not. But my sister-in-law, Liz, thank you, Liz. She got me this awesome little pin here. It's a little goose with a pride flag. So she went and protested, and she had her signs made. And I just want to thank everybody who did that yesterday. And of course, it's Pride Month, so yay. And thank you. That was brave and smart of you. And I really appreciate everybody that could do it, that took up and did that. On another interesting note, I in the process of watching a movie called The Last Showgirl on Hulu, and it's starring Pamela Anderson. And you may remember Pamela Anderson from Baywatch. And it also has Jamie Lee Curtis in it. And it is turning out to be a really remarkably good movie. And so if you have Hulu and you've kind of like, oh, Pamela Anderson, Last Showgirl, she actually got nominated for like a best actress nomination, I believe, for I want to say in the Cannes Film Festival. So it's a really good film. It's anybody that's ever like taken their career more seriously or has put their career as their top priority might understand this and might understand where she's coming from. It's a really great film. So kudos to both of these actresses. They're doing a beautiful job, and I can't wait to finish it. So if you have gotten a chance to see it or you are thinking about watching it, I say go for it.
Excellent. Hi, Tina. How are you? Knee replacement surgery. So, you and my brother-in-law had knee replacement surgery like within days of each other. I hope you're doing well. That's a tough surgery. So you hang in there. So if you wanted to, Tina, if you have my number, you can actually text me that picture and I can get it on for you here because I think it would be awesome to see your kid and her poster at the local protest. I think it's awesome. Some great posters that popped up yesterday. Anne, was it you? Well, wait, this is your second knee replacement? Oh, girl.
Woof.
Yeah, woof. Well done. But Anne, you were talking about one of the signs that you saw. Was it the 2 out of 3 of what's his name's wives are immigrants? So
oh yeah, my sister-in-law Liz sent that to me. Let's see if I can find it. It was just really funny. Yes, 2/3 of Trump's wives are immigrants, proving once again we need immigrants to do jobs Americans won't do. Yeah, so she sent me some great signs. There's one, so bad introverts are here, and the other one said, so fucked up the extroverts are speechless. So yeah, there was some great stuff.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, go ahead, Tina. Messenger me those, and I will. I should be able to get it on from there. So well done. Up, I see that just came through. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that here in just a second. So yeah, it was a full week. And I'll try to get that on before we break up today, Tina. All right, so Ann, should we talk about the OceanGate incident? I have a tough time. I have a tough time calling it a disaster. Okay, is that a terrible thing to say?
No, because I even put that in our opening slide was that disaster with a question mark. And I'm like, as far as I'm concerned, this is not a disaster. And I'll talk more about that later. But the Titan, the Ocean Gate disaster, there's, like Jenny said, there's a documentary from the Discovery Channel. It's also on Max. And then there's one on Netflix, basically a little rundown. In 2023, the Titan submersible run by OceanGate imploded near the Titanic site in the North Atlantic Sea. All 5 passengers were killed, and for 6 days, the world waited for word as to what happened to these passengers, because there was a little bit of hope that maybe the ship hadn't imploded and that maybe they had just lost contact. So there was a lot of hope for that. These documentaries dive into the history of OceanGate and its charismatic founder, Stockton Rush, his company, and why this accident was inevitable. So that's basically, if you remember this, if you're interested in learning about this, then here you go. We got 2 very interesting documentaries for you to watch.
Hey, so what do we learn in these 2 documentaries? And for some people, they might be interested in this, and some people maybe have no interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found. Well, of course, we talked about the fact that we had some stake in this as we were driving back from Colorado, and it became sort of this obsession. And we're not alone. People followed this very closely. This was a top story on all the news sites. This was a top story on social media. People were obsessed with learning more about what had happened down there. And these two documentaries are both in the top 10 for both Max and Netflix right now. So Ann, why don't you talk to us a little bit about Stockton Rush?
All right. Stockton Rush was born March 31st, 1962. So he's a boomer. That's got to tell you everything right there. He was born into ridiculous wealth. His mother was San Francisco wealthy, old San Francisco money. His father was old Philadelphian money. And I mean so old that Stockton's ancestors, 2 of them signed the Declaration of Independence, Richard Stockton and Benjamin Rush. Look where he got his name. So yeah, that's how we're talking generational wealth. It only skims the surface.
Doesn't even describe it.
Yeah, we're talking obscene wealth. As he grew up, he wanted to be an astronaut. He's like, he was going to go to be an astronaut. So he went to Princeton, was a mediocre student, the way only super wealthy white dudes can be mediocre and still somehow, get everything they want.
Well, and this is what drives me. I'm gonna interrupt real quick. What drives me nuts about that is that you have all of these people talking about the man was a genius. He was a genius. I'm like, dude, that dude got C's at Princeton. Okay, yeah, good job getting to Princeton and getting C's. Nice,
good job. I got C's at Eastern. I'm not a genius.
You weren't a genius either. You were smart, but not smart enough.
Right.
You know what he was, Ann?
What?
Cersei Lannister. He was Cersei Lannister.
He was, smart enough to want, not smart enough to make it really happen. He became an engineer who was surprisingly ignorant when it came to certain engineering concepts, and we will learn more of that. He was into venture capitalism, so damn, if that doesn't tell you oodles right there. He married Wendy Well in 1986, and here's an interesting fact. Her great-great-grandparents died on the Titanic. So, here he is visiting.
So very wealthy.
Super fucking wealthy. He went on his first submersible ride and decided that that was his destiny. So instead of going into space, he was going to go into the sea. And he started the OceanGate with Guillermo Solin in 2009. And we don't learn too much about him because that dude was smart enough to get out in 2013. OceanGate was going to explore the depths of the ocean. So they marketed themselves as like a research institute, and they were going to use submersible tourism to pay for all their research that they were going to do. And there's really no evidence that they ever really did any real research. But anyway, that was their whole shtick, and it sold very well to other stupidly rich people. The submarine that was built to do this was made of carbon fiber. More about that later. Yeah, you're like, is that a good idea? The answer is short answer, no. Like I said, his partner left OceanGate in 2013 and rushed through his entire time, both as a venture capitalist and an engineer, and of course, as somebody who was fascinated and obsessed with submersibles, he always felt that there were too many laws and rules governing ocean exploration, and it was going to be his job to break the rules and burst all of this open so that more important research could be done, more discoveries could be made. He was going to break things and be the master of the ocean. Yeah, well, he felt he had a lot to prove. He had, his relatives signed the Declaration of Independence. So he kind of had like, I'm rich and white. I got to prove that I'm deserving of all my privilege. And so he kind of, he did this, and it ended up getting 4 people killed. And it's amazing he only got 4 other people killed besides himself. So he had a lot of ego and a big chip on his shoulder. Basically, he wanted to be Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, 2 American heroes.
Except one South African.
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Except one's an immigrant. Huh.
Oh. What?
Whoa, what?
Wait, what? That can't be.
It can't be. Immigrants aren't white, right? Sorry, probably going to get canceled for that one. Anyway.
Probably, yeah.
So that's Stockton Rush. Overall, super rich dude and douchebag.
Bag.
Yeah.
Or bag of D. Whatever you want to say. Whatever you want.
Big bag of dicks. Anyway, Jenny, shall we continue?
We shall. All right. Let's talk about the Titan submersible, the Calypso 2.
Yeah, so it was, he had a Calypso 1 that broke at depths. And so they built the Calypso 2, which was made out of carbon fiber with 2 titanium end caps, so 1 on each end. And the reason why he wanted to do this is because it was going to be lightweight, but really strong, so he could get more people stuffed into the submersible, sell more tickets, do more research. Also, the ends of these titanium ends had these big windows, so supposedly you could see more out of these out of this submersible than you could like a regular submersible, which are made out of titanium and steel. So all the other ones were made of titanium. Actually, he tried to buy one of his own, but there's so few on the market, he couldn't buy one. He had to build it. So I guess this was his shortcut. Carbon fiber is strong and it is lightweight. It's a stiff material. It is made from thin crystalline carbon filaments. It's just not ocean proof. It has never been used to construct a deep sea submersible until he did it. And his whole thing was like, I'm doing this because I'm stepping out of the box. I'm breaking boundaries. There's no reason why this couldn't be done.
I'm an innovator.
An innovator. Exactly. I'm breaking things and changing the world. So that was kind of his
I'm different.
Safety be damned. And he was very much a safety be damned sort of dude. And that's one thing when it's like your safety that you're putting at risk. I'm like, great, who cares? But he put a lot of other people's safety at risk for an idea that was only an idea. It was never it was never truly proven that this would work. And guess what? It fucking didn't. All right. So the titanium submersible was never successfully, the Calypso 2 was never successfully tested at depths of the Titanic site until they went down there. So he took people down there before it was actually tested. And when we're talking the Titanic site, we're talking 12,500 feet below the ocean surface, otherwise known as 3.9 kilometers below the ocean surface, otherwise known as 2.4 miles below the ocean surface. So the first time he went down that far was with other people in the sub with him. So he's like, oh, look, we didn't die the first time. I must be right.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. So you read that right. The prototypes all failed in their lab tests. So of course, Rush decided to move forward anyway. They all failed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you see in the Netflix documentary is you see them going through these lab tests of these smaller
Mm-hmm.
little mini titanium hulls, or not titanium, carbon fiber hulls, and each time significant failures before they ever get close to
Mm-hmm.
Titanic depths.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's shitty. That and the thing is, the thing about carbon fiber is that carbon fiber was never designed for this. Carbon fiber was designed to make lots of sea level products lighter and faster and stronger. And you see it everywhere. You see it in boats, you see it in products, you see it in fucking softball bats,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you don't see people running around making, there's a reason nobody did this before because theoretically, when you're dealing with carbon fiber, this isn't what you want. Essentially, what they do is they roll and roll and roll and roll and roll carbon fiber. So it's layer after layer after layer after layer of carbon fiber in order to make the hull of that sub. And the problem is that each carbon fiber, as far as how strong it is based on the other fibers around it. Think of it as like the Roman, when the Romans are getting together and they're having their battles and they lock their shields together, it's like that. They're literally as strong as the shield next to them is to the shield next to them is the shield next to them. And that's kind of how carbon fiber works. Carbon fiber is as strong as the carbon fiber next to it and next to it and next to it. So if one of those fibers starts to fail, it's going to cause failures all along those other carbon fibers from in a single layer and those layers above it and below it.
Yeah, when you first told me about, that they made it out of carbon fiber, I'm like, you mean the stuff that my kayak is made out of?
That's right, Anne.
So I was like, oh, that sounds like a terrible idea. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm just not smart enough. Nope, it's true. It's a terrible idea. I am smart enough to know that that's a terrible fucking idea. Mm.
And so the thing about using like steel or titanium is steel and titanium chemically doesn't work like that. The strength of steel and titanium isn't based on the steel and titanium next to it,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
their big
So
idea was
yeah.
that they would dive down to the side of the Titanic. People would pay oodles and oodles, and they did. People paid a lot of money, like a quarter of $1 million to go down and see this. And I got to admit, it's kind of cool. But there's a reason why it's not a tourist site. Because it's 2.4 miles under the ocean, and the ocean is heavy. It will squish you from all
Yeah,
angles.
it's tremendously heavy. You can't even imagine the pressures associated with that. Well, of course, we learned what those pressures do to structures and people when you're down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna walk you through the timeline. So this is the OceanGate timeline from essentially 2009, which is when OceanGate was founded, to the day of the incident. Okay, so we'll start with 2009. OceanGate's founded, Stockton Rush and Guillermo Sonlin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, they promoted this as this was going to be deep sea exploration. So sexy. We can't go to space. It's okay. We've never explored the ocean. Ocean is the new space. Fantastic. So, so 4 years later, Sondline departs, and apparently not on good terms. So, because apparently Dr. Rush was tough to work with. What? Okay.
I can't believe it.
2015, Ocean Gate tests Cyclops 1, which is essentially the first Titan submersible, and begins work on Cyclops 2. And so Cyclops, you had the little mini one ahead of time. Cyclops was the big one, so they had a little smaller one that they were using. They weren't really taking that to depth. That they were just taking that one out to see if this would work, if they could get the submersible itself to function, and it kind of does. It works enough. So there you go.
What you want.
Exactly. Of course, that's exactly what you want. So here we are. Here comes 2017. 2017 officially announces plans for their Titan expeditions. They wanted to use these expeditions to pay for their ocean exploration, and they wouldn't have paying patrons. So one of the things that he does is he registers the Titan in the Bahamas. That way he doesn't fall under any jurisdiction of either Canada or the United States. and he basically chooses not to have the sub classed. And we'll talk about what that means in a minute. And as a result of that, he basically is working completely out of bounds of any oversight whatsoever. Everybody talks about, government oversight's the worst. Or it's the best, when it comes to safety regulations. That's why he didn't want to deal with anything that would keep him from doing what he wanted to do. And if somebody was watching, they'd have stopped him a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't have paying patrons. Instead, they would have paying mission specialists. This designation allowed them to get around any regulations dealing with patron safety. So if you're a mission specialist, technically you work for them. You're not a paying customer. So that was huge in terms of them skirting those safety regulations. So the engineers start constructing Titan. They use a carbon fiber hull. They put the titanium end caps on it. And this is, again, highly controversial and unusual for any sort of deep sea design. Also, the fact that they made it like this elongated tube, that was also unheard of. If you look at most submersibles, they're round or they're bell shaped. And again, your portholes are small because that becomes a weak spot in the sub. So there's reasons that they've always done that. That is the traditional design for a submersible. So here comes 2018. 2018, all hell starts to break loose because it's becoming painfully obvious at this point, because they are diving. They're taking Titan out on expeditions at this point, and they're getting a lot of what they call acoustic. They have this real-time monitoring system. It's basically a bunch of little tiny microphones that they have placed all throughout the sub, and it's recording sounds of the hull. And what they're seeing is, as they go to depth, they're seeing a number of these acoustic incidents, these popping and cracking sounds. That shouldn't happen, to be clear. So there's some concerns there, and one of the person that has the most concerns is a man by the name of David Lockridge, who is the OceanGate Director of Marine Operations. He's also their lead pilot. So when they pilot the sub, he's the dude piloting it. So he starts to see a lot of safety issues. So Stockton Rush says to him, okay, well, do an inspection and write a report. So he goes through a very thorough inspection. And this is a dude that knows his business. This is a dude that knows his way around submersibles. He's experienced. He knows what he's doing. He raises safety concerns. He writes a very extensive report. He hands it over to the board of directors. And they're like, yeah, and his big thing is that you have to get this sub classed. Classed means that it's being inspected by official third parties who will classify it as being safe, who will classify it that says it can be in these waters. And Stockton Rush didn't want to do that. He did not want that sub classed. And as a result of that, David Lockridge fought him on that and got fired. So he submits this report. He fights Stockton on the fact that he won't be classing the sub. And in June of 2018, OceanGate fires Lockridge. And Lockridge then files a report with OSHA, submits his report to OSHA on unsafe labor practices. But here's the rub. Lockridge filed this report thinking that whistleblower protections work like witness protection and that it would be anonymous. And that's not how it works with a whistleblower. So if you're fun fact, if you're a whistleblower, your name goes on that report. And so, of course, Stockton Rush gets a look at that OSHA report and immediately sues David Lockridge for breach of contract, for breach of the non-disclosure. And he does it in civil court, which means it's sealed, which means nobody can see what's happening, what's in this suit. So then Lockridge countersues him and files it in federal court so that it will be public, so that he can get out there why he's countersuing or why he filed this original OSHA report. Well, the thing is, Stockton Rush has a lot more money than David Lockridge, and he basically tries to bankrupt David Lockridge in court. And eventually what happens is, because, OSHA has this backlog of cases, this OceanGate case is like 11th in line. So as a result of that, David Lockridge pulls his OSHA report and abandons it, and because he can't afford to be in court anymore with Stockton Rush. So, because there's no whistleblower protections for David Lockridge, he pulls his case, and OceanGate continues doing what they're doing. So that the one guy that had an opportunity to stop Stockton Rush can't, because we failed to protect him, because the feds failed to protect him when he stuck his neck out to try and keep this from happening. So it really sucks. That part made me really mad. That's in the Netflix documentary, and it will infuriate you because it's just so sick and gross. And yeah, we'll talk more about that as we get to the top 10 or the top 11 things that are eye-opening in these documentaries. Okay, so here comes 2019. Lockridge is gone. They don't have a pilot anymore. So this is their main pilot. So for a while, Stockton Rush tries to become a pilot, and he fucks that up something awful for a while. He gets better at it, but for a while, he's really a mess. So they hire some, little girl named Emily. I can't think of her last name. I mentioned it later. To try and be the new pilot. She's going to be the face of OceanGate. She's young, she's blonde, she's pretty, she's all the things you want for a young, hip, hot, innovative company. And she's like, here's the thing though, she had doubts as well. And they're like, well, why did you keep doing this? And she's like, well, it was COVID. I needed a job. So everybody else was losing their jobs. I had a job. I kept my job. And it's like, there you go. So, okay. So Titan, here it is, 2019, before COVID hits, Titan undergoes all these deep sea tests. Again, this happens despite the fact that they have never had a successful lab test of this carbon fiber hull. It literally has imploded every fucking time. And again, during one of these tests, the hull emits cracking sounds under pressure, and they actually find a crack in the hull. And they're like, oh, okay. So then, without really telling anybody in OceanGate, they're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and just scrap this hull and do a whole new one. So OceanGate scraps the hull. They commission for a new hull. And at this point, Stockton Rush is pressuring his director of engineering, Tony Nissen, to become his new pilot. Okay. So Tony Nissen basically says, no, I am never setting foot in that submersible. The director of engineering is saying this. And so Rush fires him. He says, yeah, this is all your fault. You're fired. So here he is. Basically, anybody that was in on the beginning of this is fired or has quit. So the new carbon fiber hull is ready. It gets delivered to OceanGate in late 2020. So let's jump to 2021. So Titan resumes its testing. Again, it has its first successful Titanic dive in the summer of 21. Yeah, everybody's amazed. However, the acoustic sensors are continuously detecting hull incidents, popping and cracking sounds, which are called seasonings. Oh, it's fine. The hull is just seasoning.
Huh.
Like with salt and pepper?
Yeah, exactly. It was like, does it have like a savory rub on it or something?
Dry rub. Yay, dry rub. OceanGate dry rub
lemon
sub.
pepper.
Yeah. Lemon pepper, delicious. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so here we go. We jump to 2022, and OceanGate they're really gearing it up now. They're starting to sell their tickets for $250,000, which is 40% higher than the previous season. So they've increased. So the pressure's on. At this point, Stockton Rush is losing money like it's his job. Oh wait, it kind of is.
Oh, it's kind of is.
So as a result of that, they're doing anything they can to try and recoup their losses at this point. So they've upped their ticket prices to be a mission specialist. They complete several missions that season. So they have 5 missions a season. A season is essentially the summer months because they're up there. You're in the North Atlantic. You're off the coast of Newfoundland. It gets effing cold up there, and winter comes early. So they have a fairly short season. The goal is 5 missions, and in any one of these missions, they should be able to get to the Titanic. And they have a couple of successful missions. There's a lot of speculation, though. There's a lot of noise that's starting to happen about this not being super safe. So there's a lot of, he's brought in a lot of big names to come on his ships. He gets Sunday Morning to come out there and do a show on it. He gets the dude from the Discovery Channel. I can't think of the name of it. They talk about it in the Discovery Channel documentary to come down. And there's just a lot of like, hey, this doesn't seem quite right. And the summer of 2022 is when they have Dive 80. And Dive 80 is significant. And they talk about it in both documentaries as being the beginning of the end. So Dive 80 happens. They get down to the Titanic. Everybody's patting themselves on the back. And on the way back up, when they're near the surface, they have a tremendously loud cracking, banging noise. And everybody's like, shit, what was that? Oh, nothing. These noises happen. Our French dude who's an expert says noises happen. So they end up being like, everything's fine. They have 2 more dives in to end 2022. Dive 81 and Dive 82 take place. But the acoustic incident data from, if you compare Dive 81 and 82 to Dive 80, the acoustic incident data is really different. So let's take a look at that. Here it is. So this is the acoustic data from, oops, I spelled data wrong, from the 3 dives. If we look at Dive 80, you can see how you've got some acoustic data with some spikes throughout the entire dive. And then, of course, they don't show it here, but because they wouldn't let me screenshot this. I had to actually just take a picture of it on Netflix. I get it. Copyright. Sorry. Not making any money on this, trust me. So anyway, just sharing. But you see these spikes show you cracking noises in the hull. They have some spikes here, and then they have a big spike at the end. But now look at Dive 81. So you have this elevated acoustic data coming from the hull, and then it gets real big towards the end of it. And then if you look at Dive 82, damn, that hull is screaming at that point in terms of the acoustic incidences that are happening. That's really damning. And when the Coast Guard investigators are seeing this, they're seeing Dive 80. Whatever happened at the end of Dive 80, it was the beginning of the end for that submersible. But here's the thing. Dive 82 was the last dive of the season. Oh, look, we have commentary. Let's see what the commentary says. Boop. Oh, Tina says that she's glad that we're sharing this story. We'll check out the pod later with the record. Yes. Yeah, it's the science in this is really great. It's so interesting. I really loved this. And this part right here, this just killed me because this is science at work. This is data at work. This is data showing us that something has gone really wrong, and the fact that this data was ignored is soul crushing because this should tell you something. One of the things that we try to teach our students as a science teacher is to analyze data and say, what does this mean? This is significant. You have this massive change in data from 1 dive to 2 dives to its 3rd dive, and it's the fact that they did not have anything to do with that. It's just shameful. So anyway, okay, so again, 2023 comes, and they start the new season. July 12th, the first expedition of the season takes place, and that expedition includes a kid named Jake Kohler, who's a YouTube scuba influencer, and he was all jazzed about this, all set to take place. They get him in the sub, they drill him in, and that's the other thing is that you can't get out of this sub by yourself. You literally are screwed into this sub, and that's it. There's nobody you cannot get yourself out of the sub. You have to be taken in and out of the sub. Anyway, this YouTuber is part of this crew. They get down in there. They're in the water for about 2 hours, but they had a tilt incident that happened early in the dive. They're having electrical issues. They're having communication issues, and the dive ends up getting scrubbed. And because it was, kind of late in his expedition, he doesn't get to dive. So his expedition is over, and they start on the 16th. They bring in the new crew for the 2nd expedition of the summer. That is, they're going to be doing Dive 83. So the new crew comes on June 16th. On June 18th, Dive 83 is launched, and Dive 83 is the dive. So that dive includes Dr. Rush, Hamish Harding, Paul Henry, I can't pronounce his last name, Nargeolet, who and Paul Henri Nargeolet is a really interesting character because he's an older gentleman, is a legend in the submersible dive industry. The dude knows his business, and he went on many of these dives. This dude knew the submersible game, and he basically went along with it and said everything's fine. Everything's fine. Yep, you hear noises like this, and I don't get his participation in this because this dude knew better.
Mm-hmm.
Now they actually interview his daughter a little bit in the Netflix documentary. Yeah, I just shake my head on that one. And then you had um, a father-son team, Shahzada Dawood and his son Sulman Dawood. Sulwood was, I think, 18 or 19. I think he was 18. He might have not even been 18.
I
He
thought he
was
was
young.
17.
Yeah, I think he was. He was still a minor. Um, they were on the sub. Contact with that particular sub was lost an hour and 45 into the mission on June 22nd. So they lose contact on the 18th. And there was speculation. We didn't know this as the public, but there was a lot of speculation right from the time the sub went missing that the people that knew what was going on within OceanGate knew that it had been an implosion. For those of us who didn't, we thought it could be anything. They're going to get them out. They're going to, but the people that understood OceanGate and knew the culture in OceanGate and knew what was going on knew that they were never going to find anyone alive at the end of that. So that's one of the things that we learned is that there really was no hope as far as those insiders of OceanGate. They knew better. So here it is, June 22nd, and ROV locates the debris field on the ocean floor and starts the recovery of parts of the Titan. And again, officials confirm that the implosion took place shortly after communication was lost on the 18th. And if you look at the Discovery documentary, they have video footage of the command center on the boat that launches Titan, where you can actually hear the moment that the implosion takes place, and you're like, oh, you know, for those people that were on board, it was quick. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of speculation of whether they knew what was coming or not. You'll never know. You'll never know if they understood what was about to happen to them or not. So that's the timeline. And again, there's that acoustic data that shows you that dive 80 was really the critical dive. That was the dive that put them over the edge. One of the things that we see in these documentaries, and they talk about the fact, and this is what David Lockridge was really concerned about, is that they never tested a submersible unmanned to failure. And what he meant by that is that they never tested how often they could keep doing this. They had this acoustic data that showed them these delaminations, which is what they call these weak spots, but they never gathered the data so that it could tell them the when. All they knew is that it was happening, but there was at no point were they able to say it's going to be this many dives after, or it will be this many feet after. So they really were going down there blind. That kid, that YouTuber, they interviewed him in the Netflix documentary, and that dude knew that if they had gone down when he went down, he'd have died. Mm-hmm. He was one weather system away from death. And you could, you can see that he knows that because he starts crying. He's like that. So, and the problem is a kid like that, he doesn't know what he's doing. He trusts that the people that are running this have his best interest in mind. And that's the one thing we learned about Stockton Rush is that he had nobody's best interest in mind. Mm-mm. Nobody's.
Yeah.
Not even his own. That's the part that's shocking to me is I'm like, not even his own. Mm-mm. So anyway, here's 11 things that will blow your mind in these documentaries. Are you ready for this list of 11 things that will blow your mind, Ann Brothers?
I am, Jenny Brothers.
Okay. Number 11, Rush told his lead engineer he'd gladly spend $50,000 to ruin somebody who opposed him. That's why his lead engineer, after he got fired, didn't do what David Lockridge did, because Stockton Rush told him what he was going to do to David Lockridge, and he did. So there you go. There's one. Number 10, Rush said that he would buy a congressman to get out of trouble. So he was not worried about that. Here's the thing. He could have easily bought a congressman. Yes, congressman. I'm talking to you.
Exactly.
Number 9, the lack of protection for whistleblower David Lockridge. That really opened my eyes, and it really makes you not want to stick your neck out because there's no protections for you if you are a whistleblower. You're fucked. So good luck with that. Number 8, Rush's statements about how safety is a waste of time when it comes to innovation. He felt that innovation was the most important thing. Everything else be damned. And again, he more than proved his point on that he really, again, had no regard for anybody's life at all. Number 7, the designation as passengers as mission specialists is a way of getting around passenger safety regulations. I'm like, that is slick, sly motherfucker. I swear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not cool. Yeah. Number 6, eye-opening things or things that will blow your mind is the number of OceanGate employees who expressed concerns and were fired as a result of expressing those concerns to Rush and his inner circle. His inner circle was a cult. That's the thing that you walk away from and like, oh, OceanGate was a cult. And it's amazing what we'll do for a cult. We're seeing it as a nation, and we saw it as a culture in OceanGate. And that's what Tony Nissen says at the end of the Netflix documentary. He talks about the fact that this was a cultural failure. And it was, for sure. Number 5, Dive 80. Damn. They had the data. They had everything they needed to stop what they were doing and start over, and they didn't do it because they ran out of money. Number 4, how close the YouTube kid came to dying in that submersible. Again, if not for a weather system, that kid would be dead, and he knows it. So, yeah. Number 3, Rush wanted his finance director to become lead submarine pilot, though she had no pilot experience, and she quit soon after. That was a woman by the name of Bonnie. Her name is on the next couple of slides here. Yeah, she didn't last because she figured out pretty quick that, I'm like, why are you asking me to do this? This is something I am grossly unqualified for. Number 2, after the 2022 season, they stored the submersible outdoors in the winter in fucking Canada. Yeah. That was... Really? People don't store their boats outdoors in the wintertime.
Or a lot of people try not to store their car outdoors.
Their car outdoors in the wintertime. That's why we have effing garages. This dude took a multi-million-dollar machine and stored it outdoors because he couldn't afford to send it back to Everett, Washington, which is where its home was. So there you go. And this is the number 1 things that will blow your mind is the prototype carbon fiber hulls failed every lab test. And this wasn't just 1 or 2 tests. This was several tests. And they still built the sub and dove it to depth with passengers and crew. And this is the thing that drove David Lockridge to file to call for an inspection, file for his report, and then go to OSHA. It was because of this right here. He knew he couldn't believe it. He was like, oh, after they failed yet another lab test, he's like, obviously we're not going to go forward with this. And then they did. And then he's like, whoa, that was the breaking point for him. So there you go. All right. One more thing that should absolutely blow your mind about this whole thing is why it's important to talk about and think about the OceanGate incident. It's more than just billionaires that went to the bottom of the ocean and died. It's that how willing we are as a people to excuse terrible behavior in the name of being the genius innovator. Because you guys, the genius innovator is not interested in what comes next. The genius innovator is just, look what I did. I did this thing. I broke this thing. I'm a genius innovator. Pat me on the back. Give me my due. They don't give a shit about what comes next. Obviously, we see it over and over again. So, and this is a really good example of that. And then this is how you end up with Elon Musk in the White House making policy. Yeah, he's out of favor with the orange a-hole, but the damage has been done, and we're not going to undo that damage anytime soon. So it's this sort of thinking. It's not just about a bunch of guys, 5 guys dying at the bottom of the ocean trying to go see the Titanic. This is much bigger than that. This is organizational culture gone to hell, organizational culture for one company, and also organizational culture for an entire nation. And yeah.
Yes, Jenny Brothers.
Yeah. So there you go. So those are the things. That's why this is. Yeah, I thought a lot about this on the car ride yet to your place yesterday and on the way back. It's like there's something about this that really is an itch in my mind I couldn't scratch, and this is it right here. This is the itch I couldn't scratch. These two bullet points right here. So, yeah, it was a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Be on board or be out.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of feels like where we are as a nation, but hey, whatever. Okay, Anne, your opinions. We're way over time here, and I actually got to go. So let's give me your.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my first opinion is that this wasn't a disaster. It wasn't even a tragedy because a child was involved. It is sad. Otherwise, it would be just pathetic. Because people, just because a person has money doesn't make them smart. And money can't keep a person safe. Money can keep you safe, but not always. God, leave the Titanic alone. There's no reason to go down there. Just leave it alone. The ocean is even more dangerous than space, people. Surprisingly, most people think space is more dangerous. I'm like, no, there's nothing in space. The ocean is full of stuff. All billionaires should be encouraged to use carbon fiber submersibles in the North Atlantic. Real good could have been done with the money that we wasted on OceanGate. Real good could have been done by this man and his ridiculous wealth. But no, instead, this is what we got. Stockton rushed to get his carbon fiber submarine into the ocean, and he got people killed. He rushed to do it, which is kind of like on his name, Stockton rushed. Yeah, he rushed to get it into the ocean, and he got people killed. He got himself killed, and he got people killed. It was such a, pathetic. This whole thing was pathetic.
Agreed. Yeah, so it's only a matter of time before we do this again because we just keep doing this over and over. And again, continuously boggled by billionaire vanity projects. I can't even imagine, how many times has Musk and Bezos been to space? How much good could be done with the billions of dollars that are being thrown at these projects? It just kills me. And I will always be fascinated by hubris and death. And the statement you made earlier about money can't buy you safety. How many rich people died on the Titanic?
Yeah, I'm like,
how many rich people died on, like the Lusitania? Those are great examples of that.
It can keep you safe to a certain extent, but it doesn't guarantee your safety. So there you go. It
doesn't make you death proof.
Yeah.
All right. As far as which ones to watch, watch either one. They're both great. The HBO Max / Discovery Channel one, it focuses on the Coast Guard. It focuses on the Coast Guard investigation, and they focus their particular one on outsiders, talking about their experiences with OceanGate. It's people who are in the industry, or it's people who were passengers on OceanGate. And like I said, it focuses on the outsiders.
I thought it was the HBO one was very worthwhile. It is well researched and fascinating. None of the evidence uncovered in this documentary was hidden. So anyone who did business with Stockton Rush could have done a little research and discovered his ego would put safety on the back burner, and that his carbon fiber idea was a death trap. We didn't learn anything that was, it's not like, it was like all hidden away or something. Like, this was all out in the open. It made me mad. This documentary made me mad until I realized that only rich idiots were the ones that were in danger. So then I was like, oh, there you go. Yeah.
As far as the Netflix documentary, this one has more insight, and it has more of the big players within OceanGate itself. So this is more of an insider's view of what happened. They have interviews with Tony Nissen, with David Lockridge, Bonnie Carl. She was the finance director who he tried to make the pilot, and then Emily Hammermeister, who was the young lady that they wanted to make the pilot, who was trying to keep her job, and she got out before it got much worse. She ended up quitting before they even got to the 2022 season. I would say I learned a lot more about the timeline of events and the people involved, and really you really get to a sense of how bad it was and how many people knew how bad it was. Yeah, I thought they were both really good, and I would say between the two of them, if you can watch both of them, great. If not, you'll learn plenty watching either one, that's for sure.
Yeah, so, I haven't seen the Netflix one because I don't have Netflix right now. But as soon as I get it again, I'm going to watch it.
feel excellent. I know. I actually got Netflix again just so I could watch it because I really wanted to watch it. Really bad. Oops. All right. All right. Well done, everybody. Yes, we went extra long this time, but we had much to say about this. Who knew? But what are you going to do? So thank you for spending the hour and 10 minutes with us. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear your questions, concerns, comments, and
confessions.
That's right. Confessions of people watching documentaries. You guys, please join us next week. Again, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Ask Alexa to play us. And join us next week when we talk about the film 28 Years Later, the much anticipated sequel to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Let's go.
Let's go.
We're going to go watch it next week, and then we'll tell you all about it. We will give you our official review. Anyway, gotta turn on the music. It's time to go. So we talk too long, and I got to get to Father's Day dinner. Let's go.
Go, Jenny Brothers.
Indeed. So, hey, you guys. I am Janice Brothers. With me is my sister.
And brothers.
That's right. And we want you to get out there and do something smart, do something fun, do something dumb.
No submersible.
We're out of here.